I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back. It is Overcoming Distractions. You know that because you pushed the button. So hopefully you know that. So, but welcome back. Thank you for your continued listenership and support. The podcast, as you know, is geared towards busy professionals with ADHD. If you are the CEO, if you are a sole proprietor or a small business owner, an entrepreneur, this is one of the only podcasts that is dedicated just for your lifestyle, your challenges, your juggling of life and business and everything else. So we don't talk about kids or school or anything here. It's just the busy professional with ADHD. So that being said, I'll get the housekeeping out of the way real quick. If you feel like you're challenged in your professional role, you're trying to juggle all types of things, you're having a little bit of trouble, you can always go to my website, overcomingdistractions.com, hit that button that says book a 15-minute chat with me and see if we are a good fit. And I'd love to help you work through any type of challenges you have and maybe make business and life a little less stressful. So speaking of stress, we're going to talk stress today and chronic stress. I like to talk about burnout because it's something many of us have and continue to struggle with. Not because it's fun to talk about, but because it is necessary. Everybody with ADHD or not, I don't care if you have ADHD or not, I'm just convinced we wait far too long to address our burnout. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is maybe how to get ahead of the game a little bit. I also like to set the record straight. And I think there's a lot of very simplistic views on social media about burnout. And that is something we need to continue to address as well. So we are taking a little bit of a different angle today, and we're going to discuss more about burnout and neurodivergent experiences with burnout, because I know most of us do classify ourselves as ADHD, diagnosed or not. And I think maybe there's a little bit of differences. I think we're going to chat about that in a second. But I also believe is that those of us with ADHD, I think we can burn out harder. We can burn out faster than our, I'm putting my quotes up, my normal friends. Okay. But we're going to have that discussion. So Paula Liub, she's a burnout expert for people with ADHD or people who are in the kind of autistic column, maybe both. That I know some people listen to this podcast kind of have themselves in that category. And as she says, highly sensitive people. Maybe we can kind of figure that out. So she's combined her burnout experience, a degree in psychology, practicing yoga, 20 years of mindfulness, which I talk about a lot. And we need to continue to talk about. And she's developed an effective system that can help us beat, prevent, and just address the burnout when we have that kind of different brain. So welcome, Paula.
Hello, David. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and thank you for connecting. As I've said, um I don't talk about burnout because it's fun, but because I think we need to talk about it. More and more people I am hearing from do feel burned out for any number of reasons. So, and we could chat about that. But I'd like to just give you like a minute to tell people kind of who you are, maybe expand on the very short introduction that I gave you.
Sure. So you already gave me a good introduction, so thank you for that. To expand a little bit, I am myself autistic and ADHD, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a very fun mixture.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, I went through many burnouts myself before I realized I was neurodivergent. And as I was trying to find solution to prevent repeated burnouts and trying different things and putting all the puzzle pieces together, that's when I realized I am autistic and ADHD. So that was one of the puzzle pieces that really helped me understand and clarify what's going on for me. And I know this usually the case for many late diagnosed people, is that it's like a puzzle piece that
yeah.
answers so many questions, but
Mm-hmm.
actually it didn't answer all the questions. So this is why I continue digging, and that's why I continue working and continue researching, and as well helping people to solve their puzzles so that they can thrive and don't have to be in that cycle of burnout.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up an interesting point, is I don't think we ever have all the answers. I think we're always kind of discovering ourselves, and I can make a case for managing our time, figuring out a to-do list, our schedule, and then of course burnout and kind of who we are. So, and I know a lot of people in this community, or some people come to me and say, Dave, I got to figure out how to get my work done. Other people are on a journey. They're maybe in their 40s or 50s, and then really trying to kind of figure out why they operated a certain way in years past. So that's it. So yeah, so we're always trying to kind of figure ourselves out, right? So
Right.
um I I know that burnout again is just this. I think it's a massive topic, and I quite frankly, I get irritated when I see these things on social media where, oh, get rid of burnout, go drink a glass of water, go take a break, set timers, all this stuff. I mean, it is so much more complex than that. We could spend hours talking about this. And I think, as you know so well, it's even more complex with somebody with ADHD and all the challenges that we have and
Yeah.
the way we do things or not do things. But um, generally speaking, from your experience, why do people with ADHD, why are we kind of more prone to burnout?
Hmm. So there are actually so many reasons. I'll just mention a few that are probably gonna be most relatable. So one is that we have intense hyper focus. We love to get really involved into something, and then
Yeah,
it's really hard to switch off. But if you don't switch off, I mean, it's very boring and it's very cliche. But actually, like if you haven't had enough water, enough food, enough sleep, you're gonna burn out, and it's okay to sometimes skip a meal here or there, or we all get busy sometimes. We You don't have to have a perfect schedule or a perfect diet, but
right.
if you regularly and continuously skip out on the basic self-care, you are gonna feel depleted.
Mm,
And it's really hard to maintain that balance, because a lot of people who are listening, I'm sure they are very talented, high achieving, remarkable people who
right.
achieve great things. So you achieve something great, or you're going towards something great, so of course you want to give it your all. But actually, an interesting thing is that when a neurotypical person says give it your all, they mean after you had enough sleep and food and
Yeah,
had time with your family, then what you have left is giving your all. But
yeah.
neurodivergent people, we sometimes take it very literally, and we think giving our all means like completely depleting ourselves and like
That
giving
that's a great
everything
point.
up.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great point. I I also think that the way we manage our time or don't manage our time or our energy, as you kind of, indicated there a little bit, I think goes a long way. I mean, I have to say I've learned hard lessons over the years where, you know, being self-employed, where I would just like put this in the calendar here and this in the calendar here and this meeting with this client here and then try to do this here. And there was no kind of systems in place. I was just like plugging things into times in the calendar, which over time got exhausting because it was, for example, I got to do this client meeting. Now I got to do this client work. And now I got to go back and meet this guy at, an hour later. And there was no way to get into some type of flow. You were just kind of jumping back and forth. Is that something you see as well?
Yes, exactly. It's a bit hard to because we also have this thing called time blindness. So
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to estimate how much everything will take, both work and lunch, for example. You
yeah,
might think that you will finish lunch work sooner, so you will have more time for lunch, and then you didn't realize that actually lunch will take you longer to eat. So then you're late for the next meeting. So it's kind of it really is. Um, yeah, it does contribute to burnout as well.
yeah. No, that's a good point too. If you're habitually late for things, then
Mm,
you're you're stressed out, you're getting tired,
yes,
you're
yes,
frustrated.
yes,
Maybe somebody is giving you a hard time for being late, and you're getting that negative message all the time, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
Yeah, and this guilt and kind of negative self-talk also contributes to feeling
right.
emotional exhaustion and
Yeah.
dissociation, disconnection, etc. Then
Right.
then we also have things like sensitivities. If we are more sensitive to sounds or light or whatever is around us, then again our nervous system gets overwhelmed faster, and then we will experience burnout quicker if we.
Right. No, no, then
Mm,
that's a good point too, is because over time, I think we need to figure out the best environment, say that we work in, so to speak. Let's just take work,
mm,
for example,
mm,
because we spend so much time doing that. But, for me, I've learned that I need like an office that is like super quiet, like not even a
mm,
fan going on. Other people love the buzz of a coffee shop or something. And but I think the going back to that sensory thing is like if you're trying to work in an environment that is overstimulating, for example, um, that that can be stressful, right? And then that leads to chronic stress over time if you don't figure that out. Would you agree?
yes, absolutely, because
Yeah,
it just overwhelms our nervous system, and it is actually a cause of stress. Yeah,
yeah,
and stress is what causes burnout over time. So yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why I did a presentation last week for a conference, and that was kind of the gist of it. Is uh, I'll go back to social media for. I think a lot of people mistake stress and burnout, and obviously burnout is caused by stress, but it's chronic stress. And if you if you go sit by the pool for a long weekend and chill out and have a beverage and a steak and you feel better, Monday morning, that was probably just a little bit of stress. But if you and we can kind of dig into how we kind of recover from burnout, but if you do that and you're still super stressed out, then you're probably burned out. And burnout is stress over time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
it just doesn't just happen. So it's a buildup of
Mm,
those stressors. So I interviewed a gentleman for my book, Overcoming Burnout. He was the CEO of a healthcare company, and he got so burnt out he had a heart attack. And he, I asked everybody I interviewed, what are the warning signs of burnout? And he told me, he said the first warning sign of burnout is when you stop doing the things you love. And I
Mm.
could totally relate to that. There were things that I really loved to do that I just didn't find the energy to do. So, um, and he gave examples of the same thing, like going to Major League Baseball and sporting events. So, what are those early warning signs of burnout? Maybe with specifically with ADHD.
Mm. Yeah, so I would say a warning sign before you even burn out is again when you notice that you are getting into that hyper focus mode, when you start ignoring your
Hmm.
body, when you start delaying like even toilet breaks and
Yeah.
little
Hmm.
things like that, when you start
Yeah.
denying yourself the basic body needs and then another thing, like you said, is not wanting things that usually give you joy, and not having that maybe creative inspiration you used to have. Maybe some things used to inspire you, empower you, or give you that nudge to go and do something, but then you don't feel that anymore, and instead you feel like frustration or decision fatigue or disconnection, dissociation, kind of wanting to disconnect yourself,
Yeah.
um, behind, kind of like a glass wall or a fog. Feels like
Mm.
that you are wanting to remove yourself
Yeah.
from your environment, where you don't feel present as much
Yes. Yep.
around with present or engaged with people around you, with tasks around you, where you're kind of feeling a bit like a robot or a zombie,
Yeah.
where you kind of just feel like you're
Right.
going through the motions and ticking off things rather than actually feeling engaged or involved with them.
Engaged or enjoying them. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
What in terms of uh ADHD, where do we uh what yeah, this is overcoming distractions, people. We don't edit. And sometimes on a Friday, Dave loses his train of thought. But I mean, what are those kind of other things that maybe the ADHD or experiences that maybe the person without ADHD or even autism, because I know you work with
Mm,
people in that
well,
area as well. What are those things that maybe somebody that is not have ADHD or autism maybe can't relate to, so to speak? Is it the hyper focus? Is it?
yeah, the hyper focus. Another thing that comes to mind is difficulty with emotional regulation, and this is
Yeah.
something that is very quite clear and easy to see in women, because women are, we are socialized
Right.
to like that. It's okay for us to be emotional or to be sad or to be scared, or things like that. So for women, it's more easy to relate to that, but actually for men it also happens that it gets more difficult to regulate emotions, but because men are
Yeah.
usually more used to, unless they've done a lot of work with themselves, they're more used to suppress their emotions. So for them, when they are emotionally dysregulated, for them it looks more like procrastination,
Hmm.
dissociation, depersonalization, that is, feeling, disconnected from the people around them. It can be like, negative self-talk, could be like sort of guilt and shame, and especially
Yeah.
feeling like they're not achieving as much as they should. So that's actually behind all these things is also often emotional dysregulation or
Right.
unprocessed emotions. But yeah, there is a slight difference between men and women, although all of these things can apply to anyone. There
Right.
doesn't have to be either one or the other for
Right.
one or other gender. And as well, we have a lot of queer, trans people in the community, so
Right.
that's even
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, yeah, that adds another complexity is
Mm,
as we've mentioned that this is a complex topic. You mention a lot of uh things that people with ADHD struggle with, like you say, decision
mm,
fatigue, time management. Um, hyper focus, those types of things, procrastination, um, guilt, shame, emotions. How do we know when that's just, I hate to say it, but our garden variety ADHD struggles versus we're going through the gate of burnout? How do we kind of distinguish the two? Because we do describe things that people with ADHD do have struggles with in daily life, so to speak. So when does that when do we put up that warning sign about, this is more than I'm typically challenged with?
Okay, yes. So here's a few things that I'd like to say. So one is, if you are already questioning yourself, that means you are already in a risk territory,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you are a healthy person, you would never ask yourself, "Oh, am I getting a cough?" You know,
Yeah.
you are only asking that if you are starting to feel a scratchy throat or something,
Yeah.
So the same with burnout. If you are starting to ask questions, that means you are somewhere in the risk territory. It might not be very bad yet, but if you are asking questions, that you might be headed there. So I actually made a very short, simple science-backed survey. So for
Mm-hmm.
people who don't know what's going on, they can take 2 minutes, answer a few questions, and they get a result of where they are, if they are clear or at risk or
Okay.
in burnout. And then they also get a resource to their inbox. So perhaps we can link it down below, and people
Yeah.
can use this.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
sure. But also, to answer your question, um, one thing, also interesting thing, I think some people are already talking about that. We actually have been talking about ADHD and autistic people from disordered lens.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people also get diagnoses when they hit difficulties in life.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
always, but and we are so used to talk about these conditions in a way that they would be experienced when a person has difficulties. We
Mm-hmm.
rarely talk about how they actually look like when a person is healthy and thriving, because that actually also happened. There is a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
ADHD autistic people who are happy and thriving, and they're well. But we don't have much language or ways or concepts to talk about when they are well, and how to recognize that. That's much harder. So actually, as you see, like the usual garden variety, actually,
Yeah.
if we are used to talking about this as in a way that is already kind of about difficulties, and from the perspective of hardships and struggles, etc., so that's
Yeah.
already like a sign that perhaps a person is going through some struggle, perhaps a person is going through some difficulties. If they
Right.
are having those issues, I would say it's not normal. I mean, it's
Yeah.
okay, it's normal in a way that it's very widespread, it's very common for us, but
Yeah,
it doesn't have
exactly.
to
Yeah.
be that way, right?
No, no,
uh,
and I would just say it doesn't have to be that way. Even the the typical challenges of those of us with ADHD. I like to say, whether it's people who are just, look, I'm having trouble kind of navigating my job, or I'm in burnout. I like to say that there is a element of control we do have over this. I remember, I think
yes.
you and I both, actually, I think she introduced us, was Diane Wingert, and I interviewed her
Mm,
for Overcoming Burnout. But we kind of came up with this term that we're co-founders of our burnout. There
yeah.
is a element of things that are in our career, our job, or if we're self-employed, our business, that are driving us to that way. There's also the way in which we work or operate that also are definite contributors. And I think, let's take somebody in a job where they're not self-employed. There are certain parts of that job that are causing that ongoing stress, but there are, I find in working with people, a lot of times there are many things they actually can control, and those are the things that we need to focus on, right? We can't control a toxic
Mm,
boss. I mean, that's just not going to
Mhm.
happen. So, yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, exactly.
what are the pitfalls when it comes to burnout and ADHD? So, what are those
Hmm.
common pitfalls?
Yeah, so one is common that when we rely on our willpower and just try to push through,
Yeah,
and it can be very hard to come out of this because we might have this belief that if we actually take a break or have a lunch or
yeah,
take a rest, then everything will fall apart. But
right,
actually, um, it doesn't always have to be the case, and
yeah,
you can do it in a sustainable way.
right. That's a very
And
good
it
point. It's just like, oh, I didn't eat lunch today. Why not?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
And I know it can be hard to come out of it, but if a person if is struggling around this, then I would say talk to somebody, because we all have our blind spots,
yeah,
and it's so hard to see it if you're not if you are just on your own. You need
yeah,
someone else to show you where those things are.
yeah,
Um, Another one is what I'd call misaligned self-care. So there is so much advice out there what you can do, but
yeah,
not all of it is actually well suited for neurodivergent brains, and especially it's important to understand not only what tools you need to use, but when to use them and how to use them.
yeah. That's a good
And
point. Yeah.
as well as understanding like how everything works together,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest mistakes I see my clients make before they come to me is they say, "Oh, I tried this and I tried that and I tried that and nothing worked." When actually we looked at those things that they did, these were
Mm-hmm.
actually good tools that actually help them once we understand
Yeah.
what exactly is going on, and why
Sure.
it didn't help, and how they did that, and we adapt it in a way that then actually starts making giving effect, and making a difference. So this is
Right.
kind of, yeah, that's why again it is important to work with somebody who knows about neurodivergence, and who can help you in your specific situation, and who
Right.
knows the exact tools and methods to use, how and why and when.
Right. And I think you're right. There's just in some cases where somebody does need to uh, like for example, maybe somebody hires a business coach, but they don't understand how your brain operates. That might not be a good fit, so to speak. So
Hmm.
in helping you utilize those tools, as you say, um, properly and effectively, it might take a different approach. You've got to kind of understand that that person's type of brain if you're going to actually help them, and that can easily be translated into helping somebody with burnout as well. So I could totally see your point there. I talked to Dr. Claire Plumley a few weeks ago. She has a new book out about burnout. She's from the UK. And we talked about regulating the nervous system, so to speak, and the emotions and in all that. So how do you suggest people, because as you say, maybe our emotions are a little more intense or unpredictable than
Hmm.
maybe our non
Hmm.
neurodivergent friends, so to speak. So,
Hmm.
how do you begin the process of guiding somebody through starting the process of regulating those emotions, the nervous system? Because I would think burnout or not, these are tools that most people would benefit from, right?
Hmm. Yeah, so it kind of is quite personal and quite individual, because it very much depends on the person's situation and what exactly they're struggling with. So we look at what is happening in their world, and find what are the simplest, easiest ways to make this big shifts.
Yeah.
But as an example, or maybe as a concept, actually, our emotions, our stress is actually something that exists in our body, and to to help you shift that, to help you process and release it, you need to move those things through your body. You need to move the stress or the emotions through your body. So it can look in many different ways. It can look like dancing, singing, shouting, shaking, breathing, crying, stomping. There's many different ways. You need to find something that works for you in your specific situation.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
a good idea is to understand that this is something physical. This is something that is in your body. That's why you need to use your body to move through it. Because I think what happens a lot with ADHD, autistic people, we are all so much in our mind,
Yeah.
and we try to solve things through our mind and through our logic, which, for a lot of things, mind can be a brilliant thing, and there's nothing wrong with using logic. But then
Yeah.
if you forget to use your body, mm, you are only using one part of yourself, but you are
Well,
actually a
yeah,
whole
that
thing of mind, body, spirit, right?
no, and that is a point that I think people do need to uh, have a better understanding of, is that stress is held in the body, the burnout
Mm,
is held in the body,
mm,
and there's more than enough research out there to reinforce those points. Just think about the person who's super stressed out, who grinds their teeth, gets headaches, has an upset stomach a lot of times. Maybe they're got to the point where they're pulling muscles. The body's holding on to that trauma. There's a book out there. I forget who wrote it, so forgive me. But the title of it is When the Body Says No, and that's
mm.
when the body is. I think it's yeah. Don't it's when the body says no. So everybody Google it. But the it talks about how people go through chronic stress and burnout over time, and then the body starts to react. So
Mm.
the mind said, the mind is continuing to give the warning signs until it gets into the body, and the body says, okay, we're going to stop working the way we should, right? Is that
Yes.
kind of what you're alluding to? Is that we got to kind of take care of the body to release that stress and even trauma in some instances, right?
Yes, we need to use the body, but and as well, we just need to understand that we have many aspects to our being. We have mind, we have body, we have emotions, we have spirit, we have
Yeah.
we have many systems. And I think in our current society, and our typical people as well, we are trying to think our way out of every situation, but actually some situations need to be felt, some situation needs to be moved, some solutions are about like not thinking your way out of it, but finding a
Yeah.
way to work with different aspect of yourself or different modality that and I hear this, actually this is what happens a lot when people say, oh, this didn't work for me. Actually, that didn't work for you because you didn't do it with the right aspect of yourself. If you
Hmm.
did a tool that with your mind that actually was meant to do with your body or with your emotion, then actually
Yeah.
didn't work for you because you didn't actually do the tool in with the aspect of you that actually
But
needed to
that
do the work.
that's a common thing I hear in the ADHD world anyways. That didn't work for me. Let's take the Pomodoro technique. Oh, that didn't work for me. I'm not sure
Mm,
you gave it enough try.
yeah.
That's just my unprofessional
Mm,
opinion.
mm,
So as we wrap up, I always want people to have something they can take away from our conversation. Something that, okay, I relate to this conversation. That is me. I totally see myself in what they're talking about. I am burned out. I'm having some challenges here. If you're speaking to people out there listening to us and they do resonate with all the things we've talked about, what are some of those first things you would advise a person with ADHD, autistic, that they can begin to work on, maybe slowly, just to kind of start the process of pulling themselves out of that feeling of burnout?
you mean a practical step?
Practical steps, I don't claim to be able to solve a problem here in
Mm,
30
yeah.
something minutes, but
Yes.
I
Yes.
think some people want to listen to these and say, you know what, I just need to get started on
Mm,
time management. I need to get started on
mm,
figuring out how to
yeah.
schedule my week. I need to figure out how to start feeling better because I'm burned out. So what would you advise people to just start if they're feeling burned out?
So I'll give you two things actually. So one is take a look at how you're taking care of your physical body. Again, it's very boring. We all
Yeah.
know we need to do that, but
Mm,
just take a good look. And I have a freebie. I think it's called Wellness Burnout Wellness Basics, Neurodivergent Wellness Basics. It's on my website on the freebies. So it lists all the basic things that you need to do to take care of your body. You know, the food, the water, etc. And you need to look at what are the simple things you can do to make sure all these things are taken care of. It's not about
yeah.
having the perfect diet, you know, because a lot of people I know, when I was in burnout, like I couldn't even think about like peeling carrots or anything like that. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have a frozen pizza, and that's gonna be better for me than eating nothing,
Hmm.
because if I eat nothing, I will really be depleted. And
Yeah.
fasting can be really good for you if you are well. It can be a good practice, but if you are burnt out, if you're depleted, if you are on a lot of stress, on a lot of um, work, then you just need to make sure you eat enough food, and you get enough
Yeah.
sleep, and all these basic things. So just start with simple things, that what can I do to make sure I am getting enough for my body to feel to take care of the basic needs. So that's the first thing to do.
Yeah.
And the second thing, I would say, talk to somebody who is kind. Talk to somebody where you feel like you can open up, where you feel
Yeah.
like you can talk about what you're feeling, what you're going through.
I
Because
think that's
sometimes,
super important. We keep that
yes,
inside. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just need to take things off our chest and just feel heard, just feel understood. Maybe talk to a friend, maybe talk to some, helpline, or whatever is available for
Yeah.
you. As long as it's someone who is kind, who is accepting, who's not gonna tell you, what doesn't kill you makes you
Yeah.
stronger. Because what doesn't kill you makes you burn out, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
just talk to somebody. So these are two first things I would say to do, is to take care of your physical body, and to talk to somebody. And you are
Yeah.
very welcome as well to message me if you'd like to see how I can help you more with that.
Yeah. No, and I think that's important. I think that is one of the first things people need to just talk to somebody safe.
Mm,
That could be your spouse. It could be a therapist. It could be your boss if there's a situation where um, you're able to do that. Not everybody's able to do that. And you're right. Just I think it a lot of it does start with the body. So I think that's super important. I think the other things that I've uh, talked to people about is start to kind of figure out what you can take control of. And in a strange way, people kind of you know, look at me kind of awkward, but I always say make a list of the things that you are complaining about over and over again, because those are the things that are causing you to be stressed and burnt out. Those are the things that you need to address and even fix. If you're complaining about something every single day, like in a part of your work, that's the thing that's causing you chronic stress. So yeah. What's the website?
yes, my website is paula-mindfulness.com.
Okay, cool. We will have that link, as we always say, here on Overcoming Distractions. Thank you so much. We could talk about burnout forever, because I think a lot of people who are in this community, in this audience, have struggled with this from one time or another. They need some really good advice on how to figure it out. And not just those quick little fixes, because we both know that it's more than that. So